Now let's see, there's a couple other structures I want to show you. There's a spine crawler, which is your static defense for your ground armies, and then we'll get an evolution chamber so we can get some spore crawlers, and then we'll get some of the newer structures. So there's an infestation pit, that's for infestors. Infestors are a great magic unit, and I'll show you some of their abilities later. There's the Hydralisk den for Hydralisk, and Hydralisks don't have a speed upgrade in this game, so they're actually significantly slower than they are in the other games. And here's a Spire, and the Spire lets you build Mutalisks and Corruptors and eventually Broodlords if you upgrade it to a greater Spire. So your Evolution Chamber allows you to get upgrades for your units, melee attacks, ranged attacks, and your Carapace. And so your Roach and your Hydra are going to use your ranged attack, and your Baneling and your Zergling and your Ultralisk are going to use your melee attacks. So we have some more unit capabilities now. Let's get a couple Infestors, a few Hydralisks, and you can see we require more Vespene, because those units are very Vespene intensive, so you got to get a couple bases for them usually. And then the Spire, you can tell it's taking a much longer time to build. That's it's a balancing issue. So if you don't have anti-air and you need anti-air real quick, the best thing to get is a Hydralisk den and to build queens at your base, because the Spire takes a really long time to build. And so you can get a Hydralisk den and a Spire and then get Hydras in the short term. So your Hydras are very effective. They're not as durable. So let's see. Here's a Roach, here's a Hydra, here's a Zergling, and here's a Baneling. So you can see the Zergling's just quick, he attacks. The Baneling blows up, it's actually really cool looking. And he bursts on buildings and versus light units. He's very good, but versus armored, he's not so great. The Roach is high durability, 145 armor, hit points, and actually has 1 armor at the start. And then the Hydralisk is actually a light unit, so he doesn't have any armor, and he only has 80 hit points. But it does about twice as much damage as the Roach, and it does it to air and ground. So that's why Hydralisks are pretty cool. Okay, so this is the Infestation Pit that we built the Infestor out of. And the Infestor comes with fungal growth, and he comes with neural parasite, and then he also has infested Terran. That's his third ability. And you have to research neural parasite. So neural parasite allows you to gain control of a target unit. It's very good against large units like Thors, or you can't use it against Ultralisk. So Thors and Colossus, and you can even control air units with it. So let's get a couple air units. Let's get a Corruptor and a Mutalisk. And then so at your lair you can get a few things. You can get your speed upgrade for your overlords and your ventral sacks, which is them turning into transports. But let's morph into a hive for now, and then we can actually build another hatchery. A new thing in this game is that if you have a lair, you can build the advanced upgrades like the overlord upgrades with your lair, with your other hatcheries. So they can just be hatcheries, but now that you have one lair, you can use that ability to upgrade. So your Mutalisk, it looks a lot like it did in the original StarCraft, and they act a lot like they did in the original StarCraft. They're pretty frail, they don't have any armor, they die pretty quick. Hydras actually kill them very quickly. Even though they have less armor, they do so much damage with their shots, and they shoot so fast that they can kill them pretty quickly. So let's give you a few displays. This Infestor has fungal growth. Well, it's not going to land on those units, but if it landed on the units, what it would do is it would lock them in place for 8 seconds, and it does 36 damage. So it's really good at killing Zerglings, at killing Marines, and just at locking units in place. So if you're retreating, you can lock units in place. If someone's retreating from you, you can lock them in place and then chase those units down. So that's very effective for that. And then they also have their neural parasite ability, which you need more energy for, but this one can do it. So what it's going to do is it's going to target a unit. I can't target anyone because they're all my own units, but it reaches out a spine, and it's like, and then it plugs into the other unit, and it takes that other unit over, and it lasts for 12 seconds. So here's what I was talking about earlier. You can get upgrades for your overlords at a hatchery or at your upgraded hive or lair. Now that we have a hive, we can do 2 cool things, which are the final tier for Zerg units. And we can get an Ultralisk cavern. Wow, still don't have enough gas. It's impressive. So we can get an Ultralisk cavern, and that allows us to build Ultralisks. And then we can also morph into a Greater Spire. And the Greater Spire allows you to turn Corruptors, which here's a Corruptor. into a Broodlord. And Broodlords are very powerful anti-ground units. It's just kind of weird because the Corruptor is an anti-air only unit. And it's pretty powerful actually. Upgrade this into a Greater Spire. The animations are beautiful, as always. Blizzard would do that. So the Corruptor is a very powerful anti-air unit. It actually does bonus damage versus armored versus massive units. So it's good for taking down battle cruisers, for taking down motherships, carriers, and it's also good for taking down Broodlords of your opponents. So let's see, here's the Ultralisk Cavern. It looks much like the Ultralisk did. And the only upgrade you can get in this game is the +2 armor for the Ultralisk. And I think that's a little bit of a balancing issue because they are pretty destructive if they're that fast. But they upgraded their natural speed, which is kind of nice, so that they normally will move faster than they would in the original. So here's your selection. Remember, go to the UEN.com if you want to see what all these units are good for. Zerglings are great for harass, and they're just ridiculous speed. Banelings are great. They can break a bunkered wall. They can help to break down like a big load of Marines, or they're very effective versus Zerglings. They can just kill a ton off in one blow. Remember, there's that rally point. And then once you get your Greater Spire, you can use your Corruptor and morph them into a Broodlord. And the Broodlord is one of the most powerful units that the Zerg army has. They're air to ground only, so they can't attack air units. They can't defend themselves very well versus air, and they're very slow moving. But they launch 2 Broodlings, and the Broodlings are very effective. They have impact damage, and then after they impact, the Broodlings start attacking. And this does a couple things. First, when the Broodlings, here's the little Broodlings trailing behind it. When they attack, your opponent's structure, will send them way over here. When they attack, they launch out, and then they start attacking, but then they also take damage. So your units that were in the front of the line that might take damage will no longer take damage because the Broodlings will take the shot. So a Broodlord actually saves your troops a lot of hassle because they just act as, you know, such absorbers, damage absorption. So let's see. Oh, did I get that? And here's the big daddy Ultralisk. And so you can see the Ultralisk is pretty fast, especially on creep. So that's why you want these creep tumors. As soon as you get it off, it just slows down to a little, you know, gallop kind of speed. So you want to keep doing these. In a game, you'll want to actually spread a lot at once. So let's see. Here's these Broodlings. So you can see the Broodlord launches them, and then the Broodlings attack.